Have you ever felt the sting of being misunderstood after opening up to someone you thought would understand? That quiet ache that comes when your truth becomes a story in someone else's mouth. You didn't mean to overshare. You just wanted to be seen, to be known. But what if the reason you feel so exposed, so restless after sharing, is because some parts of you were never meant to be spoken? We live in a world obsessed with expression. Everywhere you look, someone is talking, posting, explaining, confessing. It's a noise that never stops, a storm of opinions disguised as connection. We've mistaken exposure for authenticity, and in doing so, we've lost something sacred, our inner silence. There's a kind of peace that comes from not needing to explain yourself, a quiet power that grows when you no longer chase validation. That's what intelligent people understand. They don't share everything, not because they're hiding, but because they've learned the cost of being too open. When you speak too soon, you give pieces of yourself away. Every thought you share becomes a mirror for someone else's judgment. Every secret you reveal becomes a thread that others can pull. It feels freeing in the moment, but later, when silence returns, you start to feel hollow, as if something precious has slipped through your fingers. Words can heal, but they can also drain, and when they're not received with care, they leave scars you can't see. Think about it. How many times have you shared your dreams, your plans, your pain, only to be met with blank eyes or half-hearted advice? How many times did you feel smaller afterward, like your excitement didn't survive the conversation? Intelligent people notice this pattern. They understand that silence is not a cage, it's a shield. They choose to protect what matters most, their peace, their focus, their inner life. They speak less, but what they do share carries weight. There's strength in being misunderstood quietly. There's grace in not defending yourself when others don't get it. The world tells you to speak your truth loudly, but the wise know truth doesn't need to be loud to be real. Some truths grow stronger in silence. Some visions need darkness before they can bear light. Intelligent people protect that darkness. They let it nurture the things that aren't ready to be seen. You don't owe your thoughts to anyone. You don't need to explain your dreams before they bloom. You don't have to share your pain before it heals. The world will pressure you to open up, to prove your sincerity, to be real. But being real isn't about exposure. It's about alignment. It's about knowing who you are even when no one else sees it. And maybe that's the real test. Can you hold something beautiful inside without needing to show it off? Can you carry your ideas, your plans, your emotions quietly, trusting that they're safe within you? Because once you master that, you stop needing approval. You stop needing to be understood. And that's when you become unshakable. The intelligent person walks a fine line between openness and mystery. They know when to speak and when to remain still. They've learned that silence isn't emptiness, it's protection. Every word has weight, and they choose to spend them wisely. They don't waste energy explaining themselves to people who only listen to reply. They don't reveal their deepest emotions to those who see vulnerability as weakness. They live from the inside out, not the other way around. So if you've been feeling drained, if your peace keeps slipping away after every conversation, maybe it's not because something's wrong with you. Maybe you've just been giving too much of yourself away. Maybe the answer isn't in finding more people to talk to, but in finding the courage to be silent. The world will never understand this kind of quiet strength. But that's the point. True peace doesn't come from being understood. It comes from understanding yourself and guarding that understanding with everything you have. Some things are meant to be kept sacred. Some parts of you are meant to remain unseen. And once you realize that, life starts to feel lighter, calmer, whole again. Because in the end, what's unspoken often carries the most truth, and what's protected in silence becomes untouchable. Silence is not weakness. It's the highest form of control. When you stop explaining yourself, you take your power back. You stop performing for a world that's too distracted to listen, and you start living for something deeper, your own peace. Most people never learn this. They keep giving away their thoughts, their dreams, their emotions, hoping someone will finally understand. But every time they do, they trade their strength for approval. And approval is a currency that always runs out. The intelligent person knows that peace is built in private. They've learned to move quietly, to build quietly, to heal quietly. They don't announce every step because they understand something most never will. The moment you reveal your next move, it no longer belongs to you. The world starts shaping it, judging it, twisting it. And suddenly, your vision is no longer yours. It becomes diluted, fragile, uncertain. But when you keep it inside, it grows sharper. It gathers momentum. It becomes unstoppable. This is why your silence matters. It's not just about privacy, it's about power. Every word you don't say is energy you keep. Every emotion you don't perform is focus you protect. The ones who achieve peace, clarity, mastery, they all share this one truth. Not everything deserves an audience. Not everyone deserves access to you. The world might tell you that openness builds connection. But wisdom teaches you that discernment builds strength. Think about how much time you've wasted explaining yourself to people who never cared to understand how many times you've spoken from your heart, only to be met with noise, advice, or empty stares. Every time that happens, you lose a little more of your voice. But there comes a point when you realize you don't need to be understood to be at peace. You just need to be honest with yourself. The intelligent person doesn't isolate, they refine. They choose where their energy flows. They give their silence purpose. They know that when you stop chasing validation, you become dangerous in the best way. You become untouchable. Because when people can't read your next move, they can't control your direction. When they can't decode your pain, they can't use it against you. When they can't predict your vision, they can't limit it. And that's when everything shifts. You stop reacting. You stop explaining. You start creating. In stillness, your mind clears. Your emotions settle. Your intuition sharpens. You begin to see what others can't because you're no longer lost in noise. That's where intelligence grows. In silence, in solitude, in observation. Every great mind, every calm soul, every truly content person has walked through that stillness. But don't mistake silence for apathy. It's not about giving up. It's about rising above. You're not turning away from the world, you're returning to yourself. You're no longer shouting to be heard. You're listening to what truly matters. That's where wisdom begins. The world doesn't need more voices. It needs more awareness. And that awareness begins the moment you stop explaining and start observing. There's urgency in this truth. Because every day you share what should be kept sacred, you lose a part of yourself. Every time you seek validation from those who haven't earned your trust, you scatter your energy. And scattered energy can't build anything lasting. Intelligent people know how to gather it back. They become architects of their own calm. They build their strength in silence until it speaks for them. So protect your vision. Guard your emotions. Move with quiet confidence. Let your success make the noise you no longer need to. When you stop giving everything away, you stop living in reaction, and you start living in purpose. That's the freedom that intelligent people find, the kind that doesn't need applause or recognition, the kind that simply is. In a world addicted to noise, your silence will confuse them. It will unsettle those who live loudly but think shallowly. Let it. Because silence isn't the absence of sound, it's the presence of self. And when you find that presence, you no longer need to prove anything. You no longer need to be seen to know your worth. You become grounded, focused, alive. And that's the secret they'll never understand. The most intelligent people don't need to speak to make an impact. Their silence is enough. Their peace is their power. And once you find that within yourself, no one can ever take it away. The moment you stop needing to prove yourself, something inside you awakens. You begin to feel lighter, stronger, more certain of who you are. The noise of the world starts to fade, and in its place you hear something clearer, the sound of your own mind. Most people never hear it. They drown it out with opinions, distractions, endless conversations that lead nowhere. But when you learn to listen to that quiet voice within, everything changes. It's not loud. It's not desperate. It's steady, grounded, honest. It tells you what truly matters. That's where intelligence finds its home, in clarity, not chaos. The more you protect your inner world, the more you see the truth around you. You start noticing how easily people give away their power. They share their plans before they act, their emotions before they understand them, their energy before they know who deserves it. They drain themselves chasing validation that never lasts. And while they scatter their focus, you gather yours. You learn to move with intention. You stop reacting to everything that doesn't deserve your attention. The world will try to pull you back. It will tempt you to explain, to justify, to share. It will whisper that silence is weakness, that solitude is loneliness. But that's the lie that keeps people small. Real strength isn't loud. Real strength is quiet consistency, invisible progress, silent discipline. It's the work no one sees, the growth no one applauds, the patience no one understands. Intelligent people know this. They don't need the world to witness their evolution. They just keep building. Every time you choose silence over noise, you're choosing depth over distraction. You're saying no to the urge to prove and yes to the power of presence. And that presence becomes magnetic. People can feel it. They don't know why they're drawn to you. They just are. Because there's something different about someone who doesn't need to explain their worth. Their calm unsettles the restless. Their stillness exposes the insecure. And their silence speaks louder than any words could. But this silence takes courage. It means facing your own thoughts, sitting with your discomfort, trusting your instincts when no one else sees what you see. It means walking alone for a while, maybe longer than you'd like. Yet that's where transformation happens. Not in the crowd, but in the quiet corners where your mind meets truth. Most will never go there. They fear the quiet because it forces them to face themselves. But you're not like them. You've felt the weight of noise. You've seen how it clouds your vision, how it makes you doubt your own power. You're ready to step out of it. Once you do, everything slows down. Your decisions become clearer. Your emotions stop controlling you. You start to understand the difference between reacting and responding. You begin to see that intelligence isn't about knowing everything. It's about knowing what to keep to yourself. The more you protect your thoughts, the more your reality begins to shift, because energy flows where attention goes. And when your attention is no longer scattered, your power multiplies. This is where peace turns into purpose. You're no longer just surviving the noise, you're mastering it. You stop waiting for the right moment or the right approval. You move silently but with certainty. Every step you take becomes deliberate. Every choice becomes aligned. You don't need to announce your growth anymore. It's written in the way you carry yourself. In the way your silence feels heavy, not empty. In the way your eyes speak before your mouth does. The world won't always understand it. They'll call you distant, mysterious, even cold. But deep down you'll know the truth. You're not detached. You're disciplined. You're not closed off. You're focused. You've learned that your energy is sacred and not everyone deserves access to it. That realization changes everything. It reshapes the way you move, the way you love, the way you live. So keep your peace close. Keep your plans quiet. Keep your emotions sacred. The intelligent person doesn't hide, they preserve. They don't isolate, they evolve. Their silence is not emptiness. It's potential, it's preparation. And when the time comes to act, they move with precision, not noise. Because real power doesn't announce itself, it reveals itself in results. And once you learn to live that way, nothing and no one can shake you again. The moment you understand the value of silence, you start to see how much of your life has been shaped by noise. Every unnecessary conversation, every opinion you absorbed, every argument that stole your peace, it all begins to look small. You realize how much energy you've wasted trying to be understood in a world that doesn't listen. That realization changes everything. You stop chasing attention and you start protecting your focus. You stop reacting to noise and you start creating your own rhythm. That's where intelligence begins, not in how much you say, but in how well you guard what's sacred. The intelligent person moves differently because they think differently. They know their thoughts are seeds, and not every seed should be planted in public. Some must grow in silence. They understand that what's still growing inside them is too delicate for noise. They guard their energy like it's gold, because it is. Every distraction steals from that energy. Every careless word weakens it. When you start treating your energy as sacred, life begins to rearrange itself around that truth. You attract calm. You attract clarity. You attract peace. But this kind of peace doesn't come easy. It demands discipline. It asks you to walk away from drama, from validation, from people who only listen to respond. It forces you to unlearn the urge to overshare. You start speaking less, but meaning more. Every silence becomes intentional, every word deliberate. And soon people begin to notice. They don't know what's changed, but they feel it. There's weight behind your presence now. There's something unspoken that makes them pay attention. That's what happens when you stop explaining and start embodying. Yet silence is not a hiding place. It's a forge. It's where strength is made, not shown. It's where you meet yourself without distraction, without filters, without the noise of the world telling you who you should be. Most people run from that kind of stillness because it's raw. It reveals truth. It demands honesty. But you can't become intelligent without facing yourself. You can't find wisdom in comfort. Growth has always been uncomfortable. It's supposed to be. Because intelligence isn't about knowing everything. It's about seeing yourself clearly enough to change. And when that change begins, something powerful happens. You stop living on autopilot. You start questioning everything, the noise, the habits, the people. You begin to realize that not everyone deserves your story. Not everyone has earned the right to know your dreams. Some people are only meant to witness your silence. That's the boundary intelligent people hold. They don't shut the world out, they simply choose who gets to enter. They give their energy with precision, not impulse. That's not arrogance. That's self-respect. The urgency of this truth is real. Every day you spend explaining yourself to the wrong people is a day you lose to distraction. Every time you share what should be protected, you give the world the power to dilute it. And while the world drains itself with noise, you have the chance to build something stronger, something no one can touch. The intelligent person doesn't rush to be seen. They work in silence until the results speak so loudly that silence becomes their signature. There's a kind of liberation in that. You no longer need to prove who you are. You no longer chase validation because you've outgrown the need for it. You begin to understand that the real reward isn't being recognized. It's being free. Free from comparison, free from judgment, free from noise. That's the peace intelligent people find, and it's the peace that changes everything. So protect your silence like it's your last defense against chaos. Guard it from anyone who feeds on drama, from anything that steals your clarity. Let your calm become your rebellion. Stillness be your power. You don't need to be loud to be heard. You don't need to share everything to feel understood. The world will try to make you doubt that, but never forget, silence has always been the language of strength. When you master it, you no longer fear being alone. You no longer crave recognition. You move with quiet certainty, untouched by the noise. That's what intelligence looks like, not in words, but in presence. Not in explanations, but in understanding. Because in the end, the most powerful ones are not the ones who speak the most, but the ones who know exactly when to stay silent. And that silence, that calm, unshakable stillness, is where true freedom begins. Silence builds empires that noise could never create. When you stop scattering your energy across 1,000 meaningless interactions, it gathers like fire. You begin to see clearly what others overlook, the small opportunities hidden in quiet moments, the lessons buried beneath discomfort, the strength that grows when no one is watching. This is where transformation begins. It doesn't announce itself. It whispers, and only those who are still enough to listen ever hear it. But stillness alone isn't enough. You have to protect it. You have to fight for it every day in a world that thrives on distraction. Everything around you is designed to pull you away from yourself. Notifications, opinions, noise. Each one chips away at your focus until you forget what truly matters. The intelligent person sees through it. They understand that every time they give their attention away, they lose a piece of their power. So they take it back, bit by bit, thought by thought, until silence becomes their strength and focus becomes their weapon. Most people think power is loud. They think influence means being seen, being known, being everywhere. But real power is invisible. It's the quiet confidence that doesn't need validation. It's the patience to build without applause. It's the discipline to wait when everyone else is rushing. The intelligent person knows this. They don't chase visibility, they chase alignment. They understand that the world notices eventually, but only after you've stopped needing it to. And that's the turning point, when your peace becomes non-negotiable. When you stop letting chaos dictate your emotions, when you stop explaining your purpose to people who live in confusion, that's when you truly begin to live. Because life doesn't reward noise, it rewards clarity. The clearer your mind becomes, the more doors open that you never even saw before. You stop forcing outcomes. You start attracting them. Your silence turns into magnetism. Your presence starts to speak for you. There's urgency in this awareness. Every moment you stay trapped in noise, you delay the life that's waiting beyond it. Every time you share your dreams with people who can't see your vision, you let their doubt rewrite your destiny. The intelligent person refuses to let that happen. They know that once energy is contaminated by disbelief, it loses its purity. So they protect their dreams like sacred fire. They nurture them in private until they burn bright enough to light the world without a single word spoken. That's the power of restraint, the decision to move with intention instead of impulse. It's what separates those who live reactively from those who live deliberately. Intelligent people don't waste time trying to convince the world they're right. They simply keep becoming. They know time will reveal everything.